caregivers of people with dementia from Lewy body, which is the dementia that goes along with Parkinson's disease. I will have the information back on the sign-in table, but it's designed to they're trying to figure out ways to get care partners feeling better and acting better, and so this is run by one of the physicians at the Movement Disorder Unit at the University of Rochester, Dr. Betsy Kluger, who has spoken to our group beforehand. Today's speaker, are there other announcements? The other thing I'll announce is our next meeting is May 25th here. We are continuing to do our caregiver Zoom sessions and our people with Parkinson's Zoom sessions. The people with Parkinson's Zoom session is the second Wednesday of every month at 1 o'clock. And if you need information on how to get onto that, just contact me, or probably contact me would be the way to do it. The caregiver sessions are the third Wednesday of every month, again at 1 o'clock. And again, if you want to participate in those, contact me and I can help you get on board. Today's speaker, we have Jennifer Phillips from the Hochstein School, talking about music therapy, specifically for people with Parkinson's disease. Her area of expertise is music therapy for people with neurologic disorders, and I've already had some fascinating discussions with her, and I'll let her take it from here.
Thank you very much, Stu. Thank you, everybody, for having me today. I just said I'm honored to be the first one back in person after all of this time. So thank you for being here, and especially going out on a snowy late April day. Who knew, right? So anyway, I am Jennifer Phillips. I'm a board-certified music therapist and also a neurologic music therapist. So music therapy is a full credentialed, evidence-based career. I need to pass the board exam and all of that good stuff. Went to school for 5 years undergraduate, and then did a lot of additional training after that for my neurologic music therapy license. So music therapists work everywhere from schools to juvenile detention centers to psychiatric hospitals to medical hospitals. I actually happen to know Betsy Kluger, and I work pretty closely with some of the folks at URMC, including the music therapy team over there. So I did my internship at Strong years and years ago and have been connected to the whole music and medicine world ever since, and work closely with the Eastman Performing Arts Medicine as well. So there's quite a few of us music therapists here in the Rochester area. I graduated from Fredonia State University outside of Buffalo, and started my career in early childhood education. So completely different thing that I'm doing now, but I have always been interested in the medical side, and really music in the brain particularly, but also just music and physiology, how music affects our bodies, how it affects our brain, and how we can use it and wield it as a tool, and a fun tool at that, for positive change. So I have spent primarily the last 10 years of my career working mostly in neurologic music therapy. I still keep my foot in the preschool and early intervention. That's what I like to say my other half of me is I also do work in early intervention and pre-K and preschool with kids with disabilities. So I kind of run the gamut of things that I like to do. But anyway, just as music therapists, we really do work in a lot of different places and a lot of different venues, and work with a lot of different folks who have different needs, different ideas, different goals. And so that is part of, our training, is to be able to create those partnerships with people and take them from, where they are and work towards something that they would like to achieve. So on occasion, I do teach music to people, but I would not say it's primarily the thing that I do. I mostly use music with people. So that's what I would say the kind of difference is in my mind between music therapy and music education. So I happen to be a vocalist as well. I sing, professionally, and on the side I've been singing since before I can talk, according to my mom. I don't remember, but it's been quite a while. So anyway, thank you again for having me today. So let me ask you, how many of you in here, just by show of hands, would consider yourself to be musical? Oh, come on, that's it? Okay, how many of you have played an instrument before? Any instrument? And I'm including that you can flunk out like Heart and Soul, where Mary Had a Little Lamb on the piano. Okay, anybody? Okay, good. Excellent. All right, how many of you have sung in a choir? Great. How many of you have sung in the shower? Okay. Come on, everybody. Okay. So anyway, even if you haven't, okay, you haven't had a choir experience, an instrument experience, I would argue that most of you are still, most if not all, are still musical. If you don't consider yourself to be particularly musical, do you enjoy listening to music? Who's like listening to music? Great. What kind of genres? Just, you can feel free to yell out. What sorts of music do you like to listen to? Great. Jazz, good one. Blues and jazz, love it. Anyone else? Oh, me too. Yeah, I like country a good deal, and I grew up in the Motor City, so Motown is up there for me too. So, yeah, I'm from the Midwest originally and transplanted to Rochester, where the weather is exactly the same. So, I didn't really move up very much. But anyway, yeah, so, I think that even if you haven't had those experiences with, being in a music ensemble or anything like that, we all enjoy and appreciate music. And I would argue that we probably all, even though our taste in music may be different, we kind of all have a similar knowledge of music. There are these components that make up music that are really very predictable to us. I would say that, there are maybe two fundamental pieces of music, and that's usually rhythm and melody, or rhythm and some kind of orchestration, something that gives you a melodic line. Now, music could just be rhythm, and sometimes music could just be melody, but usually there's that basis of rhythm underneath. As a music therapist, I would say that rhythm is by far my very coolest and best tool that I use. There's a huge connection between auditory receptors in the brain and the body. So for all of you brides who have had to walk down an aisle, okay, so for many of me and a couple of my friends who are music therapists, we couldn't walk down the aisle to the church off the beat of whatever music was playing. So it's funny because you go back and you look at my wedding video and it's like bum, 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 and I'm like marching down the aisle, okay? So here's the thing though, is that music and rhythm and body connection, that's strong for everyone, musicians or not. A lot of times when we talk about walking, we talk about dancing, swaying, regulating gait, all of those types of things that we work on in music therapy, they all have that basis of that really strong rhythmic base. So, just as something, I do want to not have you just sit here and listen to me talk all day. So just as something to do, will you help me to just keep a very basic beat? You can keep it on your body, so you can tap, you could snap. I'm not a good snapper, can only do it with one hand. But anyway, you can do it however you like, but just use a part of your body to keep this beat going. Okay, now I'd like you to stay right on that beat, even though I'm talking. I'm going to do something a little bit different, but I don't want that to mess you up. So keep going right on this beat. In fact, I'm going to count along with us, so it's a little more helpful. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop. Wow, you are pros already. For anyone who said they weren't musical, you're wrong. You got it, okay? That was wonderful. Great. So having that basis of rhythm, doesn't matter what else I put in there. I was doing what we call microbeads. So they're just kind of those things that go in between. Even when I moved to triplets, triple, triple, I didn't mess anybody up. You stayed right on that beat, okay? this rhythm quite a bit for many, many things that we're working on. So since rhythm is kind of the first building block of music, what I would like to do now is totally up to you. You can keep the beat on your body, or if you raise your hand, I will come and pass out a rhythm instrument, or if you'd like to, you can come up and get a rhythm instrument. But I would like to do a little bit of playing together. I brought my guitar today, so please feel free to raise your hand if you'd like me to bring something out to you. Or like I said, you may come up, or you can just keep the beat on your body. So you want to hand it up? Thanks. That's great.
Everyone get something whether you want it or not.
Thank you, Sue. I was going to say, I have a couple shakers. Anybody over here? Shakers? Yes? Okay. Two. There you go. That's great. You've got those ones coming pairs. Thank you. Perfect.
What's your poison?
I have a couple more. Sure. I happen to like these ones. They have little metal pieces in them. Yep. There you go.
If we're going to make fools of ourselves, we should all do it together.
Yes, there you go. I like that. Thank you. All right. So I told you I like Motown, but I put Stand By Me up here. Everybody know that, or do most people know the kind of general, okay, there we go, okay, great. So I have the words up here. You can certainly feel free to sing along, but since we're starting with the basic rhythm, what I'm doing right now is using my guitar to create a rhythm. So can you play right along with me? This kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, good. 1. Yeah. Beautiful. Yes. All right. We're going to start singing too in a second here. Okay. See if you can keep it going with your rhythm instrument and also sing. Here we go. When the night has come and the land is done and the moon is the only light we see. Oh, I won't be afraid. Oh, no, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Oh yeah, do the second verse. I thought ahead. All right, here we go. Back on the beat. A little bit faster. Here we go. Beautiful. Here we go. If the sky should tumble and fall, and the mountain should come up to the sea, I will cry. Oh no, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Oh, darling, stand by me. So how do you all know to end the song and to bring your instruments down in volume? Nice. Yeah, I repeated a phrase, slowed it down a little bit. You could tell it was ending, right? We use music all the time as a cue to do something. We use it as a cue to take a step. We use it as a cue to tap a drum. We use it as a cue to open our mouth and make noise. We use it as a cue to stop something or to start something. We use it all of the time, and I think probably some of you use it in that way in your own life without even realizing that is something that, a lot of people do. It can be, it can kind of be unconscious sometimes, where, you're using it in a way that maybe you didn't even realize it was something that was benefiting whatever it was, the activity that you were doing. So we do use music quite a bit, and I like being able to not have to use only verbal cues all the time. I do a lot, you can tell, I do a lot with my hands, and also I do a lot with music. So that was excellent, thank you. So for everybody who has an instrument, you can keep that, okay? We're going back here for a second. One thing I wanted to point out, though, when we just played together just there, is that I wasn't playing exactly the same beat that you were, and yet as soon as I started that beat, you stayed right on it for the entire song, okay? It's funny, we did the hard one first, okay? So now we're going to make it a little bit easier here. All right? So we're going to do The Lion Sleeps Tonight. I really like this song because it is about the most predictably structured song in music that I can think of. It has the exact same progression and the exact same chorus and the exact same way for the whole song. The Tokens knew what they were doing when they recorded this song. So anyway, so we're keeping this beat. You can feel free to keep your instruments right here. Yes. Lovely. When we're using, I like this song because we use a lot of the neutral syllables, the we, the way, so you're not really needing to use all of your, all fully formed words in the beginning. You get to have that long, and I usually remind people to take a deep breath, but when you start in the beginning, you have the we, and you have to hold that out, okay? So using some of those things that kind of happen, it almost seems like unconsciously, we in music therapy use them pretty deliberately for that length and that breath control and that rhythm. And you'll see that in, when I went back and did the first verse again, I dropped out with my guitar and you kept going with that rhythm. And that was perfect. So you could kind of feel that undercurrent underneath. So even though it was just a whole bunch of us getting together in a room singing, there was a lot going on that was happening as we were part of that whole music experience together. Well, your brain works really hard when you play music. So one thing that, I wasn't sure if you're going to have time for this, but I think I want to try it really quick. So another thing that we can do is, can make it a little bit more, I don't know, add a bit of a layer of complexity. Do I have anybody who would be willing to trade their instrument out for one of these? This is called a boom whacker. It's very aptly named because you hit something with it and it makes noise. All of these boom whackers are different pitches from each other, okay? So here, this is D. That was the first chord I was playing. The second one, these green ones are G. And then the third chord I was playing was an A, and the purple ones are A, okay? So you can hit anything you want. I usually hit it into my hand, but don't hit your neighbor, okay? You can hit anything you like. It works very well on the arm of chairs and things like that. But can I convince anybody to trade out their rhythm instrument for a boom whacker? All right, thank you. Gentleman back here. Yep, okay, sure. There you go. Thank you. I'll trade you. There we go. Yeah, there you go. You're my green crew over here. Okay. Yes, except I need them in a certain order. So.
Okay.
Yep, I can probably do purple for over here. So let's see. So all the purple is going to have to be over on this side. Can you give me two? Yeah, there you go. I need you front row and some of you folks back there to be orange. Can you do that? I'll trade you. All right. There you go. Yes, thank you. Okay. Excellent. Here's an orange. There you go. Orange back here. All right. Okay. Thank you. I can do this. There you go. And you want to do it? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I can stand it up until
Okay, so, thank you. So there is a method to my madness. So basically all of the orange people, you're group one, okay? So we have orange, yep. Green folks are in this general area, you're group two, great. And purple folks, you're here and here, you're group three, okay? Normally I have cue cards. I forgot them today. But normally, you'll see cue cards up here. It will say orange, orange, and then it'll say green, green, then it'll say purple, purple, and it keeps going from there. Okay? So, for right now, though, what I'm going to do is point to your group. Okay? I'm putting this back down for a second here. All right. So, coming over here. So, my orange folks, we're going to play 4 times. Okay? Right on the speed. So here we go. I have orange, 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 orange. That was perfect. Do what the orange group did. They were awesome, okay? Here we go. One more time for my orange folks. Here we go. 1, 2. Here we go. We have orange, 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 orange. Nice. Okay. Green folks. Have all my green folks? Excellent. Here we go. Ready? And here we go. I have green, 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 green. Nice. All right, purple. It's your turn. You ready? Purple, folks. Here we go. I got purple, 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 and stop. Nice. And back to orange. Okay. So this time when we go through, I'm going to take it really slow, but you'll only be playing 2 times. So listen. I'll show you. It goes orange, orange, green, green, orange, orange, purple, purple, and we keep doing that. So I'll have my hands and I'll be pointing, okay? So the orange folks get all the glory because they're what we call the tonic of the chord. They're sitting down here on do, so they get to play twice as much as everybody else. Okay, orange folks, here we go. Here we go. I have orange, orange, green, green, good. Orange, orange, purple, purple, good. Orange, orange, green, green, orange, orange, purple, purple, good. Orange, orange, green, green, orange, orange, purple, purple, good. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. Yes. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. Good. Yeah, good. Lovely. Okay, good. That was awesome. Fantastic. Okay. So now we just added a whole nother thing to it where now you're waiting and you're having to go, after somebody, so you're sequencing that too. That was awesome. All right, so one more time through let's just do the we part, okay? So we're going to start with our orange folks. I'm going to be playing this time around, so I'll be looking at you. Orange, here we go. Ready? We and green. We away. Purple people. Yeah. We away. Purple people. Perfect. Awesome. Excellent. Thank you so much, everybody, for playing along. Now, if you think about it, I have a boomwhacker choir that we used to get together. This was pre-COVID, okay? But I had a boomwhacker choir, so every single group of people had about 15 boomwhackers in it, so we made quite a ruckus when we were all playing together. All right? If you have an instrument, feel free to just slide it under your seat. I will come and pick them up eventually, but I want to leave them with you for now so that we have flexibility to play again if we can. Okay? Where did I put mine? There we go. Fantastic. Okay, so I touched on this a little in the beginning, but a lot of what we do as music therapists, it really just depends on, on where we are and where we work, on who we're working with and what we do. But I usually tell people I'm a music therapist, and they say, "A music what?" And so that's why I always say, this is always my slide in every presentation, a music what? A music therapist. So a lot of the times, as I mentioned, we use music therapy as a tool. It is a research and evidence-based practice, and a lot of times we have very similar goals as speech and OT and PT. We just have a different mechanism for being able to reach those goals. So we work alongside a lot of the other professionals, therapeutic professionals, and we're often targeting, like I said, similar goals. So our way involves using music, where a speech therapist might use a repetition of phrases to elicit a response. And a patient with, say, expressive aphasia, a music therapist might add melody to those phrases. And so suddenly the entire other hemisphere of the brain is engaged. I work a lot in stroke and TBI rehabilitation. And one of the things that is so very interesting to me and that I really love, seeing is that if we have a patient who comes in and has expressive aphasia and the language center of their brain has been damaged or has been compromised, then having them sing is usually not a problem because singing originates here and speech originates here. So it's a totally different side of the brain. So a lot of times I work alongside speech therapists when we're working on something like keeping, something like definitely expressive aphasia, but also with some of the strengthening and things like that, some of the oral motor exercises. We work a lot together. Maybe a physical therapist might use, say, aquatic therapy or even like functional electrical stim to strengthen muscles, but we use rhythm as we work toward the same goal. So the disciplines, when we're able to work together, it usually has the best outcome, for the folks that we're working with, because it really allows us, and that's why I love working as, an interdisciplinary team with a lot of the URMC folks, is because we're working on these things together to get the best outcomes that we can for the folks that we're working with. So music works for everybody, whether you consider yourself musical or not, because our brains are rooted in Western music. They're rooted in rhythm. And you've probably heard the phrase, music is a universal language. Has anybody heard that? Yeah, okay. So I would argue that music is a language used universally. It's not exactly the same, depending on where you go, but a lot of it, the music is a key to, to cultures and everything. And so in our communities, maybe we have different music than they would have elsewhere. So the kinds of music that we're used to or connect most with, jazz, classical, country western, they might be different, but they all have the same basis of being from here, from the United States. If you go somewhere like in Asia, India, they work on a completely different scale. When you have a major scale here, that's just do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, major scale. So you have that here. That's not how their music works there. That's not Western music. And so it would be a little bit more difficult for us to use that type of music when our brains are really, really used to what we have here, no matter what kind of music that is. So one thing that I would love to do is to play a video for you. Anybody know Bobby McFerrin, musician? Don't worry, be happy. Okay, yeah. He did this talk in, I think it was 2009, and talked all about how music affects the brain and he took a whole bunch of neuroscientists who considered themselves non-musicians and did a TED Talk about how our brains, our bodies, everything are really attuned to the pentatonic scale. So I would like to, let's see, Alexa showed me how to close out of this. Hold on a second. I'd like to show you a brief clip of his video, because he can do it a lot better than I can, so. Uh-oh, let's see. Oh, it says, wait a minute. She told me how to exit this. Oops, here. Okay, so, if I go close, yeah, I see that, thank you. Oh, there. No, it's not sure. No. Oh, shucks. Hang on. No, it's not letting me do it. Maybe just do exit or escape. Escape slideshow. Oh, goodness gracious. Sorry, everybody. It is worth seeing. I just can't. There we go. Okay. Which I think means I just closed my presentation, but that's okay. All right, we'll figure that out when we get there.
Expectations.
music. I mean, that was an entire group of non-musicians who just with a couple of those, initial steps figured out exactly where the melody was supposed to go, exactly what the pentatonic scale was supposed to look like. So that is one of our most basic scales that we use in music, and the pentatonic scale gives us a lot of flexibility. We use it a lot in music therapy. As you see there, he was really easily harmonizing with it, using harmonies to kind of get that bolstered a little bit, and it really just is a really unique tool and really neat tool because it's pretty versatile. You can use it a lot of different ways. So, all right. So I definitely did lose my PowerPoint presentation, but that's okay. Maybe if I open it, I'll be able to find. We'll see. Anyway, so if we do, well, shucks. Okay. So anyway, you can just, I'll just talk. It'll be good. So one of the things that, that I think is really something to, to point out maybe, about music is that it's one of those few things that, I guess it's one of those tools that we can use that is fun. There's something inherently fun about music. There's something that, that we connect with about music. In fact, years ago, as a child, as I was growing up, I was what they call a procrastinator. Like I would be the one where my mom would send me to get, get dressed for school, and I'm like doing something completely different. And I swear there was like a way that I got there, but I couldn't even, tell you all the steps. So I would walk into a room, not know I was there, all the things. So I started creating a musical schedule for myself. When I was about 8 years old, I would be literally singing to myself, I gotta go upstairs, gonna get dressed today, gotta brush my teeth, hey, hooray. I mean, I wrote this as a child because that would remind me, like, okay, I'm like standing in the bathroom, what am I doing? Brushing my teeth, I'm brushing my teeth. So, I mean, these are things that I use now all the time as a music therapist, but it's funny because I never realized that I used those for myself when I was little. It's kind of amazing, too, that I heard a couple conversations about this as I came in, that you can remember jingles that were on the TV years ago, right? If I say, oh, I wish I were an Oscar Mayer, everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? And the Good and Plenty song, oh my gosh, I can still remember those from when I was a kid. And so, having these things that are catchy, that get stuck in your head, they help you remember what you're doing. They help you plan out what you're doing. They remind you of things from the past. So we a lot of times will use those kinds of things to sequence, like, okay, here's what we're doing. But it's only because our brains kind of do that naturally anyway. It just helps us to kind of get that, once we're attuned to music, it really kind of helps to just get us to move forward. One thing I want to say, too, about rhythm is how strong of a cue it is. And if you can mix rhythm, like you hear it auditorily, if you can also mix it with a motor function. So if I'm going to strike the drum, and then I'm also pairing that with something that I'm saying, having the brain plus the motor plus the language all working together gives us that kind of more of a cue, I guess, when you have all sensory systems working together. I work a lot with childhood apraxia. These are kids who can understand language very well, but sometimes have a difficult time generating language. So we put that language with the music, with the drumming, and we have all of those things working together at the same time, and that language piece comes out more readily when we pair a motor function with it. We use the same thing when we're doing something like gait training. We have this steady beat that we're walking towards. So maybe it's starting just with a metronome. If any of you have studied music, you know what a metronome is, the bane of my existence. That's what it is. It keeps you on this exact same, tempo the whole time. I like to rush through all my piano pieces when I was little, but having that steady beat can be really helpful. So if we have a metronome and we're keeping our pace exactly along with the metronome, I told you I can't not do that. So I walk along to the steady beat. Maybe we're also pairing a third thing. So you're hearing something on the steady beat, and you may add music along count. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside him and guide him through the night with a light from above. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the undercurrent of everything that's happening in the music. So I didn't bring my metronome. Well, I do, it's on my phone. But normally I would have the metronome playing in the background. I didn't want to have to do that for you today. But that is generally what we do. We have this undercurrent, this beat that's been going through this whole time. And then we use that to our advantage, and we use it to help to facilitate those motor functions. So how can music therapy help with Parkinson's disease? It can help with motor function, with cognition in groups like this, with social connection, with strength, with mental health, with cognition, all the things that we have to do, all together as we're playing a song and we're reading something. I don't have enough time, but I usually will also do like a songwriting activity. It's very off the cuff. It's something that, you're just able to work on together as a group, and you get to create something new and different. You use that creativity. So there are so many things that we can do in so many ways that music, can be. There are so many ways I think that music's already a part of our life. And then also, there are so many ways that we can use that to our advantage. So I mentioned very briefly that a great many moons ago, I ran a Parkinson's choir. It was all for folks in all different stages of Parkinson's disease, and we got together and we sang choral music. Actually choral music. A lot of the selections, most of them, if not all, were made by the participants themselves. Every time we met, we did vocal warm-ups, we did oral motor exercises, we paired instruments with singing, and we all got together and just generally had a great time. We also had a fantastic accompanist. She also had Parkinson's. She had been playing piano for 40 years, and she had some gross motor movements and some of the tremors in her hands, and when she would sit down to play, they would stop. And she accompanied us as a choir, and it was one of the most fantastic and just the greatest honor of my life to work in that choir. It was an absolute blast, and everybody came every week. We all met together, and it was all of the undercurrent, all the things that we're working on to try and lessen those symptoms, to try and up the creativity and the connection with ourselves and with others, but also we were just there to have fun. So it's all the things that are kind of going on underneath. So kind of in conclusion, because I want to save some time for questions, and I know we're running out. So music can mean, I think, so much to so many people, and it can be accessed in many different ways, and for many different reasons. But as music therapists, we're lucky to be able to use music as this tool to affect change. So it could be that steady beat that's being used in something like regulating gait, or it could be, say, an instrumental piece set at 60 beats per minute and listened to through headphones so that it can regulate heart rate. Music is really crazy, and that music and body connection is really, really huge. Or it could be a whole group of us that are just making music together just like we did here today. So thank you so much for having me. I would love to take questions, and I just really appreciate being here with you. Thank you so much. All right. So, sorry about the end of the presentation. I know I should have done it maybe beforehand, but anyway, I'd love to take any questions you may have about music, about anything.
Where do you have your classes and that?
Great question. I work at the Hochstein School, which is in the city of Rochester. We've been around about 100 years. We are on 102, actually. We're on North Plymouth Avenue, right near Frontier Field. And so all of our classes, actually right now, all of our kind of group classes, they occur off-site in lots of different locations. So we have a lot of individuals who come, to Hochstein for lessons, and some of our youth ensembles are there. They're right there at Hochstein, our orchestra and things like that, because we work with all ages and abilities. But a lot of times, some of these experiences, like we have an Alzheimer's choir that's in Webster, at the Webster Parks and Rec and things like that. So we work a lot at off-site locations too. So we work through Hochstein, but we're kind of all over the place. Yeah. It's okay.
Do you have any online groups?
It's okay. It's okay. No problem. We did. So for a brief moment, we ran some of our senior choirs online. It was difficult. I will say that. So we ran a lot of individual sessions online during the pandemic. That worked beautifully. Having more than one person coming in from more than one place with the mute your microphone and all this stuff. So our ensembles were a little bit more challenging. I will say that. So right now we don't, but we are really ramping up with some of our our in-person things again. So yeah, absolutely. That's an excellent question. Preferred music. You said, what music is there a type of music that you found has been best? Preferred music. So if that might be different for, you being rhythm and blues than it would for you being country western, but we use whatever those elements of music are to our advantage. It's more important that you connect with the music and that you like the music than it is exactly what the music is. Tend to use a lot of big band. It tends to be preferred, and it's got a heck of a rhythm to it, so it's pretty good, I have to say. Yeah. Good question. Anybody else?
You said words are in one side of the brain and music is on the other. So if you can't find a word, if you sing it, will come out.
You can try. You can. And so a lot of times, so that's a great question. If you can't think of a word, can you sing it? So a lot of times, I should say this maybe, that if you can think of a word, but it won't necessarily come out in speech. So it is there, but it won't come out. Singing it is very helpful. If the word won't come to you, I don't know that singing is going to be the key. But hey, if you find something for that, you let me know. I just do that, on that thing, and then I describe it, and so I get that. But when we do talk about some of those things with, with speech and everything, a lot of times we do, quite a bit with repetition, but saying something like, I was working with a gentleman not long ago, loved coffee. I love coffee. I mean, it was like instant friendship. So, he wanted to say, I want coffee, but being able to get that, especially that W sound, to really be formed was very difficult. So using a really simple basis kind of rhythm and doing, I want coffee, and then kind of taking that apart a little bit. I want coffee, and after working together a couple of months, I want coffee, and it would just be right there. So you're really, you're starting with all of those building blocks, all those tools in place, and then slowly removing them over time, and that just becomes a little bit easier to do. And the other really cool thing about, I was talking about the jingles and remembering melodies, is that if there was ever a time where it wasn't quite there, I would just go, and he'd say, I want coffee, it's just right there. All I had to do was sing it, and it would come right out. So, yeah. Really interesting. Yeah?
Could you apply that to, like, for with Parkinson music to get your steps?
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Use the music
Yes.
In Parkinson, like you're the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
You can't put your feet. You do
Yes.
the same thing.
Yes, so in music therapy and in neurologic music therapy, we have these tools that we use that they're actually very similar assessment tools to what a PT would use to actually be first tracking gait and then setting that to figuring out what the beats per minute basically are that gait, that your gait is at. And then also then adding in the rhythm to regulate and have it be, exactly right there on the beat. So yes, we work a lot in gait training and we work a lot with physical therapists. So working on that gait and keeping the rhythmic element in it. Sometimes the rhythm is so strong that just the sound of the metronome itself is enough to get that gait regulated, because you really kind of feel that. If you think about the very basis of rhythm, like even that heartbeat that is internal, that is always going